The company behind Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp has finally released its own AI harness. They are calling it as Muse Code, which is built for Muse Spark 1.2, a coding focused model update. Now, this is similar to Spark 1.1, which was released some time back, but Zuckerberg tweeted about this and mentioned that this is a new thing that they are releasing today. Now, Meta has not been frontier in AI race so far, but it has been said that Muse 1.1 is a decent enough model. So I want to take out this model for a spin inside Muse Code harness itself, and maybe let's just try to do a bunch of tasks, right? This harness right now is not open sourced, as Zuckerberg also says. But I mean, without even trying Muse Code right now, I know for a fact that Meta has the talent to make the consumer product really good. I don't know how many of you know this or have forgotten about this, but React is a Meta product, right? It's a Facebook product, technically. So is React Native, right? React.js is probably one of the most transformational tech for the web, at least. And, similarly like React Native also. Sure, a lot of companies use native development as well and other frameworks, but React Native also has played significant role in mobile application development. So they know how to build developer products. They know how to build consumer products. The base company is basically that, right? So I won't be surprised if maybe in a few months of time, if this takes off well, I don't know if they would have the best model or not, but it's possible that they might have the best AI harness in the game. So their official blog post has some of these examples and how you can install it. So let me do that. So it's a 97 megabyte installer, which gives me a feel that this is a Node application, because Node engine is around like 80, 90 megabytes, and then rest of it is like assets. Yeah, I mean, I would probably like it more if more and more AI harnesses are built in native tooling, not because I don't like Node.js, but because their binary sizes are at least a little less, right? At this point, I feel like all these binaries that I'm downloading and I've used from day to day, like, right, Kimi code, Open Code, Claude code, Codex, all of these binaries, I think some of them like Grok are in Rust, but, other things, other binaries are still sort of, in Node.js. So yeah, I want to trust and continue, and let's log in. I don't have credits for this, so I don't know like if this would work or not. Let's see. Yeah, so I'll have to add a card in order to get access to this. But the pricing is super interesting. Look at this. Muse Spark 1.2 has a pricing, but if you enable contributor, which means that you're sharing your data with them, it's ridiculously cheaper, like more than 10 times cheaper. And the cache rate is actually like super less, 100 times cheaper cache rate. I mean, this is 100% like lucrative. If you're doing something which you can freely share with Meta, this is basically, this is borderline free. I feel this, because most of your sessions, if you don't know, if you're doing any sort of long horizon work, which means that you're chatting with the model and the model is doing like some sort of work, or maybe, you have just given model a goal and it's just continuously doing the work over 20, 30, 40 minutes and so on. Most of your expense goes into this cached input, like most of the work that is happening, because the model responds something and then it needs to see the whole response it has done in order to take the next step, right? So that whole response at every turn is the cached input, the cache input read, right? And 100 times difference in pricing here basically makes this extremely cheap for you to try. So for this example, I'm going to try the contributor one itself, because it will give me a lot more tokens to play with. Depending on your requirements, I probably would not recommend running this on your company data, but you can definitely use this if you still want to try Muse Spark 1.2, but without any data training built in. So let me quickly add my card and let's move forward. Now, before we move forward with Muse Code and Muse Spark, which I'm going to show you how it works, let me introduce you to today's sponsor, which is going to help you prevent bugs introduced by Muse Code and Muse Spark. That is Greptile. Greptile is the AI code reviewer every company needs in their code base. Whether you're using the state-of-the-art AI or you're using models which are emerging like Muse Spark, you need to make sure that the product that you're shipping has no bugs. And for that, you cannot just rely on the AI itself who has created those bugs in the first place. And you're in luck because Greptile today launched their version 5. This version 5 is a completely new agent architecture which aims to go ahead and spin individual agents focused on specific sections of code review. For example, instead of just doing a static check and a static analysis, this version 5 actually spins up agents and figures out whether the hypothesis that a bug exists or not, which has been reported earlier, is true or not. That means that not only it can report bugs, but it can also remove the false positives. So you don't have to waste any time when you're doing code reviews. And if you're a company or a startup who's not using Griptile for code review, you are losing time. You are losing time that you can use better for thinking about what direction your business should head into or what things you should build instead of just reviewing code which can be done by Griptile. And this is just not theoretical. Griptile is used by some of the best AI engineers in the world in their organizations to increase their productivity and move faster. I feel that a product like Griptile pays itself orders of magnitude more in a few weeks of time once you start using it. Once again, thanks to Griptile for sponsoring this part of the video. Do check them out. All the links are in the description. And now back to the video. Alright, so once you add the payment method, you are now good to go. And the model by default is set to the contributor one, right? So I'm assuming that you can go ahead and change the model like this. But this discount is just way too ridiculous to not use this, right? I mean, given that you are basically using the same model, this is such a staggering difference in the pricing of a model. Now, I'm assuming definitely they might be running this in a loss, but I mean, not at a huge loss also, I'm assuming, because most of the people would be unknowingly running this against, without even understanding or reading the fine print. But anyway, let's keep this. Let's take a look at the harness first. So / gives us some sort of commands. Let's see if we are able to find anything interesting. We do have the goal, which is, typical like a loop thing. You have fork, you have feedback, which is not very helpful. We have effort. Let's take a look at that. Okay, so we have ultra, extra high, high, medium, low, and minimal. Okay, minimal is, I don't know, like if it'll be super fast or what. But let's see. Yeah, not as fast, but sure. So let's just keep this high, or rather let's just keep it extra high so that we are just able to test the model, because I've also not tested MuseSpark myself. It also has a voice input included in the, in the API itself. Now, this is one of the interesting things, because if you use Claude Code, you're going to see that if you're using Claude Code over API, you will not get voice input over API. Voice input inside Claude Code is only available if you have a subscription. But Meta is giving you this voice input as well. So let's see. So this is Option and V. Okay, so my firewall just messed with this. So let me allow this. Okay, let's remove this. Let's try again. Hi Meta, I want to create an application, a simple application, which is a web-based game. I want it to be fun. I want it to be interesting. I want it to be ideally a platformer game. Alright, so a couple of things. You saw that it actually formatted my message after I closed the voice thing, right? So this full stop was not there before when I was speaking. So that was something I was about to point out, but this basically did a little bit of post-processing, which is nice. I think the latency is good. And I also like that voice input, which was here, right? Claude Code does not have that. So this is actually interesting. Let's try this out. While it's doing this, I want to see if we are having any other commands, which could be interesting. So, I mean, this is a typical harness, right? You have sub-agents, you have skills, you have a side thing, which I'm assuming is sort of like, by the way, for Claude Code. I don't know, like if you have, yeah, no, this is not, this is like an actual conversation, right? This is not the /BTW, I don't know. Okay, this also supports, by the way. Side is not available in side chat. Okay, so side is, okay, I mistakenly quit the CLI itself. Let's try it again. Or maybe rather, let's try to see if we can resume this. We cannot. So what can we do? Okay, resume is a top level command. Muse, resume, and hi. Awesome. So we are back into our session and it's asking me some questions. I want to just say, just go ahead and use anything that you want to do. I am leaving the creative angle and the implementation to you. Yeah, it's definitely doing a light post processing on some fast model because, it just makes it a little better. All right. So while it is working now, let's see what else we have. We have this settings as well, where you can select model, you can select reasoning effort, you can have summaries on and off, away cap on and off, again like a Claude feature. Then you have voice mode as well built in, which is pretty nice actually, by the way. Like I like this. I sometimes I use Claude's voice mode built in as well. The one advantage of using a built-in voice mode like this is that the text appears as you're speaking, right? So in some cases, like I want that to happen. But again, like you have like your Mac OS applications in order to do that. So that's also fine. Then you have agent delegation as well. Control simple model chosen helper agents. You can keep it auto or off. Definitely auto is the right option at the price point that you are getting. Then you have web search as well, which has client, hosted, and off. Interesting. So there is a client. I don't know exactly like what it means, but I'm assuming that this client means that the web search happens through my computer, right? Using my network. Hosted is probably using their infrastructure for making the web search. And off is just, not that. So client is the default, so I'll just keep it. Okay, this is cool. Session messaging. Let local sessions message each other. Interesting. This is something that was definitely my use case. I can't enable this. It says me session messaging is unavailable. The local session messaging gate is closed. So I'm assuming this is sort of some sort of experimental feature or something. But this is definitely going to be interesting because I have some of this use case. I mean, I sort of like asked this some days back also. This is the tweet I was talking about. This is from last month, 18th July, where I wanted to do something like this. Having multiple AI agents communicate with each other. And I'm not talking about just the main process and a sub agent. Sometimes I want like different agents working together for some reasons. Like, for example, if I have started another agent which is doing something on a similar branch as the other agent, I just want them to coordinate for a while with each other so that they just don't end up resetting or rewriting their work. So this is not available, but definitely interesting. And then we have skills, obviously. Awesome. So it has done something. I can ask it, can you just start a static server and give it to me? And I mean, other than that, I am pretty happy how the harness turns out to be. Right? Again, like I'll have to use it obviously in order to understand better on how the thing is. But this is nice. I mean, right out of the box, I can see like they have put in enough effort in order to figure out taste and style of different people. You can see like I can also customize my themes. I mean, personally, I liked this one the best. It has sort of like that warm feeling and a dark mode feeling as well. But generally, I keep my editors in Monokai, or even One Dark Pro rather, not Monokai. But One Dark Pro is like it feels to me like I'm inside my IDE itself, and I want my terminal to be slightly different. So this is much better. Let's go. And I am regretting that I did not start this into YOLO mode. But yeah, anyway, so what else do we have? We have voice, we have YOLO. Okay, so it says YOLO, but it says me how to restart with all actions auto approved. What is the meaning of how to? I'm assuming like this is a typo or something, right? If I just write YOLO, okay, so it's sort of like giving me guidance inside the agent as a command. This sounds wrong, but I don't know, like possibly that is the intended behavior. Okay, I have no idea why it is not able to do this. Let's try this in YOLO mode once. Can you try doing it now? And it is doing something. It is also running this terminal, which I can go ahead and enter to enter inside the terminal, inside I don't know if this is a sub agent or something. Yeah, I can go back to the main agent and let's just wait for it. Okay, so it says me server is now live. I can open this and this is what it has created. So it has created a Skybound as a platformer game, one touch momentum physics. Let's go ahead and play this. So this is an interesting game. I am able to jump with my space key and arrow keys also work. And this is a game which is, I mean, decent, right? I don't know, like if you remember that one video I did with a bunch of these AI models creating a platformer game and comparing with them, and that was what, like a couple of months back. And since then, that was also a platformer game example. I'll probably link that video if you want to check out like how the models of that time, which was like 3-4 months back if I'm not wrong, were. And those games were actually pretty bad compared to what I'm seeing now, right? It also has this double jump sort of thing, right? I can just press space 2 times and get like a booster jump. So yeah, I mean, a lot has changed, right? Building a game like this was not a small thing before AI. But now it's basically like you would never be impressed if somebody just presents you with this. And the thing is that this is just a basic example, right? You can actually build a personalized game. You can ask it, there are different gravity rules, or this character, for example, is your own face or people you know. And you can just build personalized software, which is the biggest thing I've seen in AI. Very cool. I mean, from a game implementation point of view, I don't feel like there is any issue. And if we look at the usage metrics, we burned about 1 million tokens in input, out of which most of them were in cash. And that is what I was referring, right? That cost reduction, which is like close to 100 times reduced price, is going to be on this one, which is going to be most of your tokens, right? So almost out of 1 million tokens, 85% of your usage, more than 85 because it's not even a million tokens, this is cached, right? And if you look at this pricing again, for 1 million cached inputs, you are paying 0.2 cents, which is almost like just a little shy of 100 times less than, whatever, like without the data sharing thing. So it would have costed me roughly around 20 to 30 cents, like at least 10 times more if I was not using the data sharing one compared to what it has costed me right now. And this is just a very small session right now, right? I can just do 100 such sessions and it's going to cost me what, $2? But on the other hand, it would have costed me like 20, 30, $40, which is like a meaningful amount compared to just $2. So yeah, definitely. I mean, the model itself is obviously not as powerful as Fable of the world or GPT 5.6, Sol, extra high of the world, but definitely something that you can try to do basic stuff, basic things with, right? Maybe this is also like a good sub-agent of some sorts. I don't know how good this is at instruction following, but I'm assuming because this is like coding specific model, they would have done some sort of post training on this, or at least some enhancements to make sure that this follows what you're saying, because that is one of the most important things when you're doing any sort of programming, that your AI model follows what you're saying. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Hopefully you liked it. If you did, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna see you in the next video very soon.